That's pointing the right way. You see that? That small rug? That's the direction we want to make the. Yeah, exactly. 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 You want to bring it down. Yes. Ahsantum. Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. So that, that small rug over there, exactly. It should be, yeah. hmm So then the other ones should also move like that too. Okay. Um, so now this one needs to, because right now it's just, it needs to be more than this because it's just, can you move this into, thank you. Thank you, brother. Okay. Awesome. Inshallah, this will be fixed, but we just want to make sure it gets done properly. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Alaikum salam. Yeah. 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 We've been looking into it like pretty like in a lot of detail. So like inshallah, it will be fixed inshallah and it will be addressed. Okay, thank you. Now second thing is the first. Oh, can you hit the what happened to the? Okay. All right. So the first amal is a 2 rakah prayer that's recommended for the day of Ghadir. In the first rakah, recite Surah Al-Qadr after Surah Fatiha. And in the second rakah, recite Surah Al-Ikhlas. And then there's a short amal to be done right after that. Okay. And we can do it right now, yeah, inshallah. Okay. The niyyah is the prayer for the day of Eid, the Eid-e-Ghadeer, and raja'an, raja meaning hope in the reward of Allah. Taqabbalallah. In hadith, we're told that somebody who performs this receives the thawab of having been present on the day of Ghadir and being with the Prophet ﷺ in giving allegiance to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Now, the next step is to go into sujood and thank Allah 100 times. You can say shukran lillah 100 times. What are we thanking Allah for? For the event that took place, for the wilaya of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and for giving us the knowledge and the ma'rifah of the wilaya of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So 100 times you can, in sujood, in sajda, you can say shukran lillah, meaning thank you to Allah, as a way of acknowledging what happened today. The Amal continues with the following dua. Inshallah, we can recite it together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. اللهم إني أسألك بأن لك الحمد وحدك لا شريك لك وأنك واحد أحد صمد لم تلد ولم تولد ولم يكن لك كفوا أحد وأن محمدا عبدك ورسولك صلواتك عليه وآله يا من هو كل يوم في شأن كما كان من شأنك أن تفضلت علي بأن جعلتني من أهل إجابتك وأهل دينك وأهل دعوتك ووفقتني لذلك في مبتدئ خلقي تفضلا منك وكرما وجودا ثم أردفت الفضل فضلا والجود جودا والكرم كرما رأفة منك ورحمة إلى أن جددت ذلك العهد لي تجديدا بعد تجديدك خلقي وكنت نسيا منسيا ناسيا ساهيا غافلا فأتممت نعمتك بأن ذكرتني ذلك ومننت به علي وهديتني له فليكن من شأنك يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي أن تتم لي ذلك ولا تسلبني حتى تتوفاني على ذلك وأنت عني راض فإنك أحق المنعمين أن تتم نعمتك علي اللهم سمعنا وأطعنا وأجبنا داعيك بمنك فلك الحمد وغفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير آمنا بالله وحده لا شريك له وبرسوله محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصدقنا وأجبنا داعي الله، واتبعنا الرسول في موالاة مولانا ومولى المؤمنين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب، عبد الله وأخي رسوله، والصديق الأكبر والحجة على بريته، المؤيد به نبيه ودينه الحق المبين، علما لدين الله وخازنا لعلمه وعيبة غيب الله وموضع سر الله وأمين الله على خلقه وشاهده في بريته. اللهم ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا، ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار، ربنا وآتنا ما وعدتنا على رسلك ولا تخزنا إنك لا تخلف الميعاد، فإنا يا ربنا بمنك ولطفك أجبنا داعيك واتبعنا الرسول وصدقناه وصدقنا مولى المؤمنين وكفرنا بالجبت والطاغوت، فولنا ما تولينا واحشرنا مع أئمتنا، فإنا بهم مؤمنون موقنون ولهم مسلمون، آمنا بسرهم وعلانيتهم وشاهدهم وغائبهم وحيهم وميتهم، ورضينا بهم أئمة وقادة وسادة، وحسبنا بهم بيننا وبين الله دون خلقه، لا نبتغي بهم بدلا ولا نتخذ من دونهم وليجا، وبرئنا إلى الله من كل من نصب لهم حربا من الجن والإنس من الأولين والآخرين، وكفرنا بالجبت والطاغوت والأوثان الأربعة وأشياعهم وأتباعهم وكل من والاهم من الجن والإنس من أول الدهر إلى آخره. اللهم إنا نشهدك أننا ندين ما دان به محمد وآل محمد صلى الله عليه وعليهم، وقولنا ما قالوا وديننا ما دانوا به، ما قالوا به قلنا وما دانوا به دنا، وما أنكروا أنكرنا، ومن والوا والينا، ومن عادوا عادينا، ومن لعنوا لعنا، ومن تبرأوا منه تبرأنا منه، ومن ترحموا عليه ترحمنا عليه. آمنا وسلمنا ورضينا واتبعنا موالينا صلوات الله عليهم. اللهم فتمم لنا ذلك ولا تسلبناه، واجعله مستقرا ثابتا عندنا ولا تجعله مستعارا، وأحينا ما أحييتنا عليه وأمتنا إذا أمتنا عليه. آل محمد أئمتنا فبهم نأتم وإياهم نوالي، وعدوهم عدو الله نعادي، فجعلنا معهم في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين، فإنا بذلك راضون يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات Brothers and sisters, one of the recommended acts on the day of Ghadir is what's called the Pact of Brotherhood. Um, every year, Maulana Abidi, when he's here, of course, he's the one who carries this out. But inshallah, in his absence, we can do it together, inshallah. So the day of Ghadir is the day of Wilaya, and when we have the same leader, then that means that those who follow the same leader, they have a special bond between them. And so it's a great opportunity for those who would like to pledge their brotherhood to somebody. Now, you don't have to do this, it's up to you. But if there's somebody that you want to have like a brotherhood with, then you can carry out the following. What it is you take your brother's right hand in your right hand. Now, if you feel because of COVID that that's something which you don't want to do, that's fine. You can do social distancing. And what you do is you say the following. You say, I declare my brotherhood with you for the sake of Allah. I establish the terms. And then you say at the end that if I am allowed to go to paradise, then I won't go in before you go in, meaning that I'll intercede on your behalf. I'll do shafa'ah for you. And so it's a way of basically, then you say that I release you of all the duties. I'm not going to take you to account for any of this. Okay. So because the Arabic will be a bit different for the men and the ladies, we're going to first do it for the brothers, and then inshallah we'll say it for the sisters if they want to do it. So sisters, this is just a preview for you. And you can choose your sister that you want to do it with, and the brothers, you guys can choose your brothers, and then inshallah we're going to start it. You can. Okay. Inshallah. Okay. So make sure you find your brother, and you can do multiple. Oh, mashallah, we have brothers doing it together too. Okay, so. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is for the brothers. Sisters will be next, inshallah. آخيتك في الله وصافيتك في الله وصافحتك في الله وعاهدت الله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله وأنبياءه والأئمة المعصومين عليهم السلام على أني إن كنت من أهل الجنة والشفاعة وأذن لي بأن أدخل الجنة لا أدخلها إلا وأنت معي. Now the other party can say قبلت. Okay. No, it continues. أسقطت عنك جميع حقوق الأخوة ما خلا الشفاعة والدعاء والزيارة. Allah. Okay, so sisters, you guys can get ready, find your sister that you're going to strengthen your sisterhood with. Okay, inshallah you can recite after me. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. آخيتك في الله وصافيتك في الله وصافحتك في الله وعاهدت الله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله وأنبياءه والأئمة المعصومين عليهم السلام على أني إن كنت من أهل الجنة والشفاعة وأذن لي بأن أدخل الجنة لا أدخلها إلا وأنت معي. And now you can say قبلت. The other person can say قبلت. I accept that. That's good with me. Okay, then you go back to the first person. أسقطت عنك جميع حقوق الأخوة ما خلا الشفاعة والدعاء والزيارة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أمير المؤمنين والأئمة عليهم السلام صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. محمد وآل محمد. On Eid-e-Ghadeer, inshallah, let's hear another beautiful, together, loud salawat, inshallah. Praise be to Allah who has blessed us to be among those who cling and hold to the divinely commissioned leadership and authority of Amir al-Mu'mineen and all the Imams, peace upon them. Alhamdulillah. Today I received a message from a very close and dear brother of mine, Agha Murtada, who is now visiting Iran. As you all know, he's a huge part of this masjid and we miss him and we pray that wherever he is, he's doing well. He said, Mahdi Jan, we need to be grateful that our ancestors, the generation before us, the generation before them, were those who had hearts that accepted the wilayah of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and it is such an honor and blessing to be here on this blessed day. And inshallah, we have a really great program set for you. Alhamdulillah, we started with Quran recitation and the beautiful a'mal of Eid-e-Ghadeer, one of them being the basically Pact of Brotherhood. How many of you got to do an Aqd with a new brother you did not know before? MashaAllah. So you know your responsibility is to make sure to check on this brother or sister throughout the year. You must visit one another. It is not something where you just kind of do and get away from each other. So remember that the brother or sister you met and you made your Aqd with, you are to check on them. So set up calendar reminders for yourself. This is the best thing. Every other Friday, say, check on Brother Mahdi. And just call or text or send a voice message. Inshallah. Who's willing to do that? With a show of hands? Inshallah. Yes, ahsantam. Jazakumullah khair. So inshallah, we are going to benefit from our dear Sheikh Salim, who is sadly leaving us today. And he's going to be gone for a few weeks. Us here, the team of Rise and SABA, we're of course all very sad that we're going to miss his presence. And of course the community, but we are blessed to have so many other shuyukh, one of which Sheikh Ihsan Ahmed recited salawat for him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj, who has brought the beautiful scent of Imam al-Rida with him to us, and it's a blessing. And if you embrace him, he spends most of his time at the shrine of Imam al-Rida, so inshallah you get the blessing. And inshallah Sheikh Ihsan will make dua for us to get the blessing of ziyarah of Imam Rida, inshallah. Without further ado, I would like to invite our dear Maulana. Before that, let's do a quick recitation of our Mawla. Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Ali. Brothers. MashaAllah. Ali Ali Mawla, Ali. Ali Ali Mawla, Ali Ali Mawla, Mawla Ali. Ali Ali Mawla, Ali. I don't want any quiet, brothers. Ali, your voices. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, 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 Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla. Ay, Ali, Ali, Mawla. MashaAllah. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla. Inshallah, give yourselves a round of applause on this beautiful Eid. Inshallah, as we get prepared for our dear Sheikh Salim Yusufali, please recite 3 loud salawats ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, followed by a Fatiha for all the marhumin, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أمير المؤمنين والأئمة عليهم السلام. My respected elders, brothers, sisters, on this very, very special day of Ghadeer, I wish to congratulate first and foremost the Imam of our time, the living Imam, Ajallahu Farjuhu Sharif, and all of you. May Allah bless all of you. May Allah make us among those who adhere to and hold fast to the authority of the Imams, of Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Imams after him. And may Allah hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. In order to bring blessings to our gathering here, let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, you know that there are places that they set aside as dark preserves. And the reason why they do that is because there's so many city lights that pollute the night sky that you can't see the stars anymore. So what they did is they set aside these dark preserves, places where you can go and you can see the stars. And really, it's quite a beautiful sight to see. Sometimes we never realize that such beauty exists in the night sky. But whenever you go to one of these, if you ever want to plan a visit to the night sky preserves, you always have to make sure that you time it correctly. Because if you go at the time when the moon is full or it's near a full moon, then there's no point, because it's might as well you might as well just have looked out in the night sky in a place like this where there's a lot of city lights, because the light of the moon is going to drown out the light of the stars. When our 8th Imam, Imam Ar-Ridha alayhi salam, was explaining to people the merit of this day, like the status and how great of a day it is, he said that on the day of judgment, the different days will present themselves to their Lord. The day of Fitr, the day of Adha, the day of Jumu'ah, and the day of Ghadeer. And he says that the merit of the day of Ghadeer with respect to the other days is like the moon with respect to the stars. When the moon is present, the stars don't really have any presence to show. Not that they're not important. The stars are beautiful, they're amazing, they're a sight to see. But when the moon is present, the stars take a back seat. And some of the scholars, when they've explained the deeper significance behind this, they say that everything that Eid al-Fitr has, the fasting, the rituals, the worship, the coming together and praying, everything that the Adha has, meaning the Hajj rituals, all these acts of worship, the key to all of them, what gives them life, what gives them real meaning, is having the authority of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So this is the day that we're celebrating here. One time, one of the Jewish people who was studying the book of God, he was studying the Quran, he came to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and he says that there's an ayah, there's a verse in your book, and that verse, if it had been in our book, then definitely we would have taken that day as a celebration. Which verse was he referring to? It's the verse which says, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinukum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam dina. Meaning that day, today, this is the day that I have perfected for you your religion, and I have completed for you my blessing, and I have selected and I am satisfied with Islam being your religion. That Islam which began at the time of Nabi Adam alayhi salam with the teachings of Adam. That Islam which was continued with the teachings of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam and his Sharia. That Islam which was continued with the teachings of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That Islam which was continued with the teachings of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, with Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and all the prophets in between. That Islam finally, after 20 years of our Prophet struggling and striving to deliver the message to the people, of guiding them to the true teachings of Tawheed, finally it was sealed, it was completed with the announcement of the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The significance of today is very much, it's enormous, and it's very important that we be aware of what happened and what was the aftermath, meaning that what took place and what was the reaction from the people. We know that our Prophet had gone for the Hajj. Some say that there was 10,000 people who were accompanying him, but most of the historians say that it was probably more, around 90,000 or 100 or even more than 100,000 Muslims who were accompanying him for the Hajj. After they have completed the rituals and rites of the Hajj, they did their farewell tawaf, they've completed, now everyone is starting to go back home. They come to a place which is traditionally the place where the different people split and they go back to their hometowns from that point, which is known as Ghadeer Khum. And the Prophet stops the people, even though it was peak noon and it was a hot day. It was so hot that the men were taking their aba and they were either putting it on their feet so that their feet wouldn't burn in the sand, or they were covering their heads with it. That's how hot it was. And there, after leading them in prayer, the Prophet delivered the final sermon. He reminded them of the fundamentals and all the principles of the teachings of Tawheed. And then he went on to remind them of his position as the Nubuwah. He reminded them of the Akhirah. There was one pillar that was remaining, which was that of the Wilayah, that of the authority and of the Imamah of the Imam Ali alayhi salam. And so this is where our Prophet took the hand of Imam Ali alayhi salam and he announced, Man kuntu mawla fa aliyun hadha mawla, or fa hadha aliyun mawla. And he made it very clear for the people. Now, brothers and sisters, we know that many people at that time, they came to Imam Ali salam, they congratulated him. But if we look as to what happens in the coming months, soon afterwards, in a span of less than a year, we have the majority of people who had pledged allegiance to the Imam, or they knew about this event. The majority of people, they had abandoned the wilayah of Imam Ali Islam. And what I want to spend a little bit of time today on is this question, that what would lead somebody to know about the authority of Imam Ali alayhi salam, but to back away from it? Meaning, what would cause somebody to reject it even though they know about it? And why am I asking this question? Because this is something for us to ponder upon. You know, it's easy for us to be at a distance and to say that, well, of course, if I were there, I would have been a supporter of Imam Ali alayhi salam. But we know that there were many people who were seasoned veterans. They were people who had fought battles. They had sacrificed a lot of wealth. They had been injured in war. These type of people, some of them were the ones who abandoned the wilayah of Imam Ali alayhi salam. They were the ones who said that, no, I'm not going to be taking Imam Ali as my leader. And this is something for us to think about. On this day of Ghadeer, we're saying, Alhamdulillah, oh Allah, praise be to Allah who made me among one of the people who has held fast to the wilayah of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Well, this is a time for me to ask myself, how tightly am I holding on to this rope? How much does my heart really have acceptance of it? So this is good for us to look at it from a historical perspective. What were some of the reasons? I'm going to mention 3 reasons for why people, they turned away from Imam Ali Islam's authority. Inshallah, you can help me with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Reason number 1 is that people were used to this idea that leadership is something which is something that you can become a leader, and it's people who are the ones who decide that you're a leader. For example, we know that in the United States we have a system of electing senators, mayors, presidents, right? It's a system where there's somebody who was not a president and then they become a president. And after a while, they become a former president, even though sometimes they really still want to be president, but they become a former president, right? It changes, right? It's something that comes and then it goes. He was the mayor, now he's no longer the mayor. That was the senator, now she's no longer a senator. Now, before the coming of the Prophet, in the Jahiliyyah period, in the period of ignorance, they had similar type of titles, right? This person is the elder of the tribe, and therefore we're going to do bay'ah to that person. And now, it doesn't matter whether it's haqq or it's truth or falsehood, right? No matter what, we're going to obey that person. Because why? Because we made allegiance to them, right? When that person goes and leaves this world in the mercy of Allah, then the next person in line, they take on the leadership of the clan or the tribe, and everyone goes and pays allegiance to them. That was the system that was there at that time. So they had all these stories of like their clan leaders and their tribal leaders and what they used to do, and sometimes they would tell those stories. And the Quran, at one point, it tells them that, look at, these tales of the past, right? Don't get too caught up with them, right? Things are different now. You have to adopt a new way of looking at things. Allah says, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. Remember Allah. At the very least, remember Him the way that you remember your forefathers and their tales. But even, you should be doing it more intensely. There's a new system here. It doesn't go by the way it used to be. What is the system? It's a system where there is an individual who, not because of election, but rather because of God's appointment and God's choosing them, they have that authority over people. Now, it's something which is very not secular, right? It's something which is divine, not secular. But what was happening is that these people, because they had gotten comfortable with their lives after the conquest of Mecca, they were getting more wealthy, they were getting more and more caught up in the material world. You can think about somebody who before used to, maybe spend, let's say, $100 a month on Amazon, and now, like every day is a day with Amazon. They're even part of Amazon Live as well, okay? Right? What's happening is that they're getting caught up in the world of the material. When you get caught up in the material world, what happens? The secular ideas, they become the forefront, right? When God is absent for the picture, that becomes the status quo. The idea of there being these individuals who are pure, who are ma'asum, who are this, that becomes kind of like, whoa, that's a story, but that's not what I'm dealing with on my daily life. And that's what we see happen in history. So you see that rather than talking about concepts like imama and wilaya, now they're talking about things like, oh, you look at the story of what happened in Saqifa, they're like, oh, let's go and give this person bay'ah, right? And then just end the dispute right now. What is bay'ah, right? What is this bay'ah that you're talking about? What happened to, the coming of the Prophet and God sending somebody and then that Prophet telling you that this is the Mawla, right? Because they had gotten caught up in the secular world. So this is reason number one for why people rejected or turned away from the wilayah of Imam alayhi salam. Reason number two, sorry, you can help me with salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Reason number two is that if we study the history of what happened, especially towards the end of the Prophet's life and then immediately afterwards, what happened was that the people started to hide the truth about Imam alayhi salam. This is one of the saddest things about history. People who saw Imam alayhi salam, the likes of Salman and Ammar ibn Yasir, those who used to spend time with him, those who were present in different circumstances, they were there and listening to when the Prophet would give them the wahi, the divine revelation. They knew that so many of the ayahs of the Quran were revealed in the praise of Imam alayhi salam. They knew so many times when the Prophet had said all those praises about Imam alayhi salam. But what happened was that there was a deliberate campaign to hide those merits of Imam alayhi salam. People stopped talking about those things. And one of the saddest things that we see happen in history is that people started to treat Imam Ali alayhi salam like a normal human being. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is from the Battle of Jamal. The Battle of Jamal was the first civil war that took place in the history of Islam. Imam Ali alayhi salam versus Talha and Zubair and other people who had joined with Talha and Zubair. Imam Ali alayhi salam was victorious in this battle. After they won, many of the people who were with him, they were excited because, at the end of a war, right, now it comes time for cashing in, right? You put in your blood and your sweat, right? Now you get to see, or in the reward, now you get to take all the war treasures, right? You get to go and plunder and take everything that they have because now you have all these prisoners and everything else that happens as well, right? So they were like, okay, well, we've won the war just the same way we did with all the other wars. Now we're going to go and take prisoners and things are going to be good, right? We're going to increase our treasures. And Imam Ali alayhi salam says that no, this is not the same as the other battles that you had fought. This was a battle against Muslims. Yes, they were wrong in what they did, but there's a special hurma, a special sanctity that a Muslim will have even when there's a civil war. Even when they challenge the authority of the Imam of the time, there's still a special type of sanctity. In this case, there's no war treasure that's going to be taken. Nobody is going to be taken a prisoner. Everyone is going to be freed and they're going to be allowed to go back home. Now in history, brothers and sisters, we're told that people were very upset when Imam Ali said this. And some of them came to him and they openly challenged him. They openly challenged his fatwa or his hukm, his ruling. He's telling them that, look, you have to free them. They said that no, right? You're doing something wrong. Until it got to the point where Ammar ibn Yasir, Ammar, the great companion of our Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, he speaks up and he addresses the people and he says that, to paraphrase, he says that, do you realize who you're talking to? This is not some ordinary person where you can challenge what he said. This is a ma'asum. Right? Don't you realize that he's the one that God has appointed to be your leader? And God has promised that he is purified from all uncleanliness, all impurity. These are not ordinary individuals. We see another example in the history of the third Khalifa, where it's very interesting. There's a certain prayer that he decided that instead of reciting it 2 rak'ahs, I'm going to make it 4 rak'ahs. And when he did that, right, this was in Mina, this was after or towards the end of the Hajj rituals, right, the people around him, they were very upset and they started to challenge him. And they ask him, they say that, oh, so-and-so, right, we saw you when you said this prayer during the Khilafah of the second Khalifa, and we saw that you did it 2 rak'ahs. And we saw you at the beginning when you became the Khalifa and you were doing it 2 rak'ahs. And now we see that you've changed it to 4 rak'ahs. Tell us what's going on here. And he says that, ra'ayun ra'ituhu, right? I decided to kind of make up this thing, and it's my opinion that I see here. So, brothers and sisters, we talked about one reason why people turn away from Imam alayhi salam, which was their movement towards the secular and all the concepts that are secular, including secular leadership as well. The second reason was forgetting about what Imam alayhi salam actually represented, right? Because those things were buried, those things were hidden from them. And the third reason is that people started to think a lot of themselves, right? My opinion. What does he say? He says, ra'ayun ra'aytuhu. It's something that I decided, it's good for me, right? I know that the Prophet did it as 2. I know that other people, but I'm going to do it as 4. Now, what do you have to say about that? Innal insana yatgha ar-ra'ahu istaghna. What does the Quran say? That human beings, when do they rebel against God? Ar-ra'ahu istaghna. When they see themselves as being independent. And this is what we see unfold in the history. We saw this in so many examples. The individuals who knew what happened in Ghadeer. We know in history that Imam alayhi salam at one point, he takes Ghadeer as a hujjah, as a proof among to the people. He says that, were you not there? Did you not hear the Prophet say these words about me? And what did they have to say? They were there, they witnessed it, they saw it. But these factors had led them to deny it. Now, brothers and sisters, when it comes to us, right, I always try to make a practical connection with us. Now, I don't want to just live in the past. When it comes to us, we have to ask ourselves that what are we doing to protect ourselves against these 3 things? The danger of being drowned in a secular world and looking at everything with the glasses of somebody who's secular, it's very dangerous. The school systems, if you go and look at their charter, for the most part, the public school system is bound to have instruction in a manner which is secular. If they start talking about anything which goes beyond the secular world, then they will be in trouble. Right? What are we doing to ensure that we're protected from the harms of this? What are we doing to make sure that we keep alive the concepts of divinity and those things which are associated with it? How do we make sure that we don't get caught up in a world where everything is centered around myself and my tastes and my preferences? How do I make sure that I always keep in mind, what is it that Imam alayhi salam and the Ahlul Bayt want of me? This is where I want to just draw to a conclusion in my speech today by saying that, brothers and sisters, one of the things that's very beautiful about the system of wilaya, meaning this whole thing that God has given us, where He created us for a purpose, and that purpose will be fulfilled with the coming of our Imam. One of the things that's very beautiful about that is that it is something which very much appeals to our fitra, meaning the way that God created us. Meaning that when we talk about these concepts, like why is it that here and then in many other places in this world, there's so many people who are gathered celebrating, being happy about, grateful to God about the wilayah of Imam alayhi salam. Why is that? Because they know that this is something which appeals to them. Why is it that when you talk to children and you tell them about the awaited Imam, and you tell them about the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and you tell them that this individual, this imam is going to come and he's going to spread justice throughout the world. He's going to take care of all the evil in this world. He's going to get rid of all the bad guys, right? Why is it that you see this spark in their eyes? Because it's connecting to their fitrah. It's connecting to their nature. I don't know, if, brothers and sisters, if you've seen this one song that was released in recent weeks. It was first done in Iran, in the Islamic Republic of Iran. It was called Salam Farmande. It was a song that was dedicated to the Imam of our time. That song was written as a kind of a sort of pledge of allegiance, or a very heart-to-heart conversation that a child who accepts the wilaya of the Ahlul Bayt, that they would have with the Imam of the time. And there was something about, the words that were chosen, maybe the professional tune that was made is a bit catchy, right? Or the way they did the videography by showing the children, right? Where it somehow lit up a spark in people's hearts. And we saw, this is just recent, like this is this year, right? Just very recently, we saw that soon after it was released, it started to gain popularity all around the country of Iran. We're talking about videos being seen millions of times. We're talking about like people reenacting this and doing it in different parts of the country. Sometimes you have like tens of thousands of people there saying these words. And then, very interesting, that we see that people around the world, they started to see this and they said that this is not a message which is limited to one ethnicity or one country. This is a universal message. And so suddenly, like, every day we started to see that this same song was being replicated in different languages, I don't know, from like Swahili to, Kashmiri to Pashto to, English to Arabic to many other languages, Turkish and many others that I'm not aware of, but I'm sure that they're in the process of being produced. I did a quick search, I saw that the song that has been made into the most languages, it's one of the lullabies, which I think it's called Silent Night, which many of you probably have heard. Apparently it's been translated into 105 languages. I wouldn't be surprised if this song is translated into more languages than that song was. Right? Why? Because there's something about this message which clicks with the hearts of the people. Right? It's a very powerful message. It's a message which is just filled with truth. I mean, you can have songs, right, which are filled with filth, and they'll make the top charts, and people will memorize their songs, and they'll dance to their lyrics, but eventually, those things, they kind of fade away. But this is the type of thing which is there, and it's always going to be there, because this is ringing with the truth. So this is a message of hope. Today is a day of hope. Right? When we're looking at the challenges ahead, when you talk about these concepts of secularization, self-centeredness, talk about the truth being hidden, right? We're being hit by this by all fronts. At all fronts, right? We're being hit by these things, right? We're suffering, right? We're seeing this in our own families, in our communities. But there's also a lot of hope as well. So this is a day for us to, celebrate this, but celebrate it in the right way, which means that we look at ourselves and we say that, okay, these concepts, this wilaya, how much do I accept it? And the last thing I'll say is I want to go back to the analogy that I made at the beginning. We said that when you had the moon, right, there's no point in trying to look at the stars, right? The stars sort of fade away. So brothers and sisters, what we did before our speech program right here is that we had a small ceremony. It was small, but it was very meaningful, where you had a chance to turn to somebody and say that you truly are my brother or sister. And I'm not going to have anything in my heart towards you. Right? I'm letting go of all that. Why? Because I'm part of a greater cause. Right? I'm not here for some petty things that I'm going to hold them against you and I'm going to take you. I'm part of a greater cause here. Right? I'm here for a purpose. I want to fulfill that purpose. I want to be somebody who is a companion of the Imam of the time. I want to be a part of that movement that's going to establish justice in this world. So these type of things, I'm going to put them aside. I'm going to focus on my cause right here. So brothers and sisters, as we come to this gathering, we might have these issues in our lives. I don't know. Sometimes we have marital issues between husband and wife. Sometimes we have issues with our parents or community members. let those things be like the stars. When the moon comes in, they kind of fade away. Why? Because we're part of a greater cause here. For the sake of Imam Ali and Islam, for the sake of Ghadeer, for the sake of this cause, can we not look aside these things and say to our wives, our children, our parents, our brothers and sisters, say, you know what? I really, truly love you because we're part of the same mission, we're part of the same cause. We have the same leader, and that unites us. These things we're gonna work through them, we're gonna figure them out, but let's focus on the bigger deal here. We have bigger fish to fry, as they say. Right? Inshallah, this will be the power of the Ghadeer that can be reflected even in our personal lives. May Allah Ta'ala help us to be among those who truly adhere to the Imams. May Allah Ta'ala hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi tahirin.
Ahsantum Maulana, Jazakumullah khair. Please recite another loud, beautiful salawat for our dear Sheikh Salim Yusufali, inshallah. Allah. Eid Mubarak to all of you again. Thank you so much for your presence on this blessed day. Alhamdulillah, we are honored to have so many great brothers and sisters visiting us from near and far, some guests that will benefit from, inshallah. And it's truly a blessed time and a blessed day. Inshallah, for the rest of the program, we will have poetry in different languages. After that, inshallah, we'll conclude with ziyarat of Aminullah. And then we'll have dinner and inshallah enjoy each other's company and visit with our brothers and sisters we haven't seen in a while. Without further ado, I'd like to, inshallah, with the permission of our dear brother, my dear very close brother, inshallah, we'll start with the beautiful language of Urdu. And we're honored to have our dear reciter, Sayyid Qa'im Abidi, inshallah, who's recently become mashallah, a groom of his own. Please recite a lot of salawats for him. Ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
बर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सलावत जश्न ईद-ए-Ghadeer Mubarak to all of you. To commemorate this special occasion, I'll recite a manqabat in the language of Urdu. If I can have a loud salawat. मुझ पे मुश्किल की जब घड़ी आए, मुझ पे मुश्किल की जब घड़ी आए और मुझ पे मुश्किल की जब घड़ी आए तो मेरे लब पर अली अली आए और अपने भाई को पाया भाई को मेज़बां पाया, अर्शे आला पे जब नबी आए, और फतह खैबर अली के नाम रही, यूं तो लड़ते हुए सभी आए, और खोल कर ज़ुल्फ़िकार बोले अली, लेके मरहब का सर अभी आए, और बादशाह गुलाम हैदर हूँ, मेरी ठोकर पे कैसरी आए, मुझ पे मुश्किल और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु।
Jazakumullah khair, Sayyid Qaim. May Allah bless and protect you. Recite another last salawat for him, inshaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. Inshallah, we will be blessed by the beautiful recitation of Hajj Hassan al-Khafaji, inshallah, in the beautiful language of Arabic. Please invite Allah up with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. علي يا علي، 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 علي أجمل أمنياتي، علي أيقونة حياتي، علي محيا يوم ماتي، علي محيا يوم ماتي، علي يا علي، 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 علي لحبك دوائي، علي لاسمك شفائي، علي لحبك دوائي، علي لحبك شفائي، علي لذكرك دعائي، علي لذكرك دعائي، علي يا علي، 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 علي علي، علي يا تاج الإمامة، علي يا لحبك سلامة، علي يا تاج الإمامة، علي يا لحبك سلامة، علي ميزان القيامة، علي ميزان القيامة، علي يا علي، علي يا علي، علي يا علي، علي يا إيه علي يا علي علي يا إيه علي يا إيه علي يا حب وهيامي علي يا خلج وصيامي علي يا حب وهيامي علي يا حج وصيامي علي سجدات وقيامي علي سجدات وقيامي علي يا علي علي يا علي علي يا إيه علي يا علي يا علي يا علي إيه اسمك على بلساني علي يا علي يا واحد بلا ثاني علي يا علي إيه اسمك عسل بلساني علي يا إيه يا واحد بلا ثاني علي إيه اسمك عسل بلساني إيه يا واحد بلا ثاني اسمك وسط قلب المحب يا علة الكون صورة جمالك يا علي حفرت في العيون والناس يدرون صرت بك أنا مجنون يا الأمرك أمر الله صبح بالكاف والنون أمرك أمر رباني علي يا علي يا واحد بلا ثاني أمرك أمر رباني إيه يا واحد بلا ثاني علي يا سر إله المعرفة والباري مكفيك وفيت أمرك يا علي وما حد يوفيك يا مركز قلوب الملا ومجبورة الفيك كافس انت علي والله علي وبس هذا يكفيك انت علي والله علي وبس هذا يكفيك اسمك اسم نوراني علي يا كاف اسمك النوراني يا واحد بلا ثاني علي اسمك اسم نوراني علي يا واحد بلا ثاني من العريس صوت اعتلى يزف البشارة مولى الأمير المؤمنين وحامي جاره مو عجيب لو ربك يطفي بهالليل ناره تستاهلي شكل أجلك البيت وجداره يا ساكن بوجداني علي يا واحد بلا ثاني اسمك عسل بلساني إيه يا واحد بلا ثاني علي علي يا علي علي يا علي علي يا علي علي يا علي صلوا على محمد.
أحسنتم حاج حسن رحمة الله عليك حبيبي جزاكم الله خير. Inshallah we'll have Farsi and then inshallah we are in for a big treat for the and for English inshallah. No, I'm not the big treat, somebody else is big treat inshallah for Farsi. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعان ولن أعدائهم أجمعين يا علي يا علي يا علي 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 علي. Close your eyes together. Call Ali 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 Ali. Oh, mashallah. All together. Ali Ali Ali. Oh, Ali 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 علي عليم علي عالم علي أعلم علي ولي علي والي علي والاست علی تمامی دین بغض او تمامی کفر علی ولی خدا خصم او عدوی خداست علی شهید و علی شاهد و علی مشهود علی پناه علی ملجأ علی منجاست ثواب نیست ثوابی که بی ولای علیست نماز نیست نمازی که بی علی برپاست شکسته با دهانی که بی علی باز است. The mouth that opens without the walaya of Imam Ali alayhi salam says it's mortal, it breaks, it's weak. شکسته باد دهانی که بی علی باز است بریده باد زبانی که بی علی گویاست. نعره حیدری. اگر تمام خلایق جدا شوند از دو خدا گواست که راه تمام خلق خطاست. منو جدا شدن از مرتضی خدا نکنم منو جدا شدن از مرتضی خدا نکند که هر که گشت جدا از علی جدا ز خداست. علی let me hear you. علی ای جانم آی علی ما شاء الله آی علی هل الدين إلا الحب هل الدين إلا البغض هل الدين إلا الحب هل الدين إلا البغض حب علی و آل علی سایه به سایه همیشه میرم به دنبال علی سایه به سایه همیشه میرم به دنبال علی هل الدین الا الحب everyone هل الدین الا البغض هل الدین ما شاء الله هل الدین. What is it saying? It's saying, is religion anything but love? Or is religion anything but, what's a good word for both? Maulana here, Sheikh Hassan, what's a good word for both? Hate? Ahsant. Is anything but love or is anything but hate? Is religion anything? هل الدين إلا الحب هل الدين ما شاء الله هل الدين إلا الحب هل الدين إلا البغض حب علي آل علی سایه به سایه همیشه میرم به دنبال علی سایه به سایه همیشه میرم به دنبال علی نور علی توی وجود شیعه موج میزنه راه علی راه تموم خانواده منه حب علی نشونه حلال زاده بودنه با حب علی فقط ایمان میخوره محک من والا علی نجا من آدا علی هلک مولانا علی علی مولانا علی علی مولانا علی علی مولانا علی علی everyone مولانا علی علی مولانا علی I thought he was going to give me money مولانا علی علی مولانا علی علی هل الدين إلا الحب هل الدين إلا البغض let me hear you هل الدين إلا البغض بغض به دشمن علی تا آخرین نفس میگم که قبله من علی تا آخرین نفس میگم که قبله
him and says, the Prophet would tell me stories about how me and you would become best friends one day, and you'd become one of my greatest companions. Maytham was so entranced by the love of Ali that he was told by Ali, "Oh Maytham, you will be killed for my love. There is a tree here. They will pin you to this tree and crucify you to this tree for your love of Ali ibn Abi Talib." Maytham, what did he do? Every single day, he began to water this tree, saying, "Oh tree, you were created for me, and I was created for you." When they came and took him, they crucified him to this tree, and he would still use his tongue to recite the virtues and fada'al of Ali alayhi salam. People would gather around the tree where he was crucified as he would recite the virtues of Ali until the day they cut out his tongue. I'm no date seller, but I aspire to be. In the love of Ali, I yearn to be Maytham. I'm tied not to a tree, but tied to its root, because the root of Islam is Abu Talib's son. Mountains may be moved, but my faith cannot be. When one falls for Ali, that choice has long gone. I hear them whisper that my love for him is too much. Don't they know that in his love I seek to drown? That I sip from the rivers of the walai of Ali until the day its blessings drown both my lungs. Maytham watered the tree upon which he would die. I carry the crucifix which I'll be pinned on. Maytham knew no words but praises of Ali. And if I am blessed, then Maytham I will become. And I shall recite the virtues of Ali until the day they cut out my tongue. And I shall recite the virtues of Ali until the day they cut out my tongue. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Give me a second louder salawat, please. And one more that will travel all the way here from the Bay Area to Najaf al-Ashraf. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm going to begin reciting a poem about some of the beautiful sayings that were left to us by Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. Anyone who knows, who's opened a book on the sayings of Imam Ali, knows his wisdom shakes the soul, shapes the heart, and changes your life. And inshallah, I'll begin with these words and then move on to the fada'al of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And it begins with the hadith we all know, which is, meet men in such a way that if you were to die, they would mourn. And if you were to live, then they would long for your return. Meet men in such a way that if you were to die, they would mourn. And if you were to live, then they would long for your return. Your dream is a mountain whose peak calls out your name in yearning. So seize the days, like seeds are seized by soil, which without growth is nothing. Fear is a lie, unlike the dream that while you sleep it is passing. Conquer that fear, and then conquer all that you wish for and dream. Never weep for what comes and goes, because this world has no value. Never weep for what comes and goes, because this world has no value, even in secret, because your heart, it knows the truth even more than you do. The past and future aren't present, only this moment is true. You abide in one universe, another abides inside you. Beautify your speech, and yet value it like the weight of your tongue. Much like the flow of a couplet, let your speech flow like song. Chain up your tongue to a clean mind before it destroys anyone. Because if you break a heart, no one can help you. Not Allah, by Allah, no one. Feed off your secrets as you keep them buried within your chest. Reflection reflects more than gold, like treasures in a treasure chest. Nations are toppled by ideas, and tyrants are left in unrest. Be victorious in this world, and you shall conquer the next. Never lose sight of your worth, even if you are made blind. Never lose sight of your worth, even if you are made blind. If you lose one chance, have faith. That's a better one you'll find. What you work for, it will come to you. This is the true power of the mind. One man or one woman has the power to be one step ahead of all of mankind. Whatever your mind can construct, by Allah it can be achieved. By the words can't, don't, and difficult, never be swayed or deceived. Put your hands in sync with Allah's, and of trials you'll be relieved. How many have achieved their dreams simply because they believed? How many have achieved their dreams simply because they believed? The earth yearns your roots, so settle wherever you are planted. Because all plants that refuse their soil are left withered and tormented. Never complain over what you have, what you don't have, and what you have wanted. You can have everything you want if you just love everything you've been gifted. Eloquence can only be found when touched by divinity. Whoever Allah Himself praises, of obedience He is worthy. Whoever Allah Himself praises, of obedience He is worthy. So climb the mountain of eloquence. Its peak is bathed in piety. Its peak is bathed in piety. When living life, when fearing death, seek the gems of Imam Ali. When living life, when fearing death, seek the gems of Imam Ali. Because against the wish of the best of creation, the love of Ali splits Muhammad's nation. To Ali we owe our very religion. So recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Tell me, can there be anyone like Haydar? Open your heart, just like you opened the Kaaba. The house of Allah, it obeyed Ali's mother. Walls that were worshipped for centuries for Ali that we'd crack and bend. The house that we prostrate to, it swayed like his cradle. Since built by Ibrahim, it had remained idle. He was born there and yet he never bowed to an idol. He was born there and yet he never bowed to an idol. When his eyes first saw their stone, of their destruction he dreamt. Who, at his own risk, slept in the Prophet's bed, praying he'd be safe when they'd find him instead. The Quran itself thanks him. Have you not read? Allah Himself would salute Ali as verses in his praise would descend. Whose skin bled before Muhammad's thought to bleed? In war, whose name did he call to intercede? And when he ascended, whose voice did Ahmed heed? He was comforted by his beloved, just as Allah would intend. Whose sword conquered Uhud, Hunain and Badr? Who with just one hand raised the gate of Khaybar? Who made Marhab shake when he cried out, I am Haydar, named this name by my mother? And then Marhab knew his end. Whose name was taught to Adam as his first word? His name was sweeter than the apple's taste when it called. Through the light of Ali, Adam saw the beauty of God, and to receive Allah's love, blessings on Ali he would send. Who did Ibrahim call to cool the fire? And why? Because unable to burn are the lovers of Karrar. Unable to burn are the lovers of Karrar. Ali became the ark that rescued Noah. No surprise, it's in his blood. Prophets he'd always defend. When met with Goliath, who did David call? Who saved Yunus from the gut of the whale? Who'd give Yusuf hope when he was locked in jail? And when Yaqub lost his eyesight, to his sight who would attend? From whose patience did Ayub's own patience learn? From whose patience did Ayub's own patience learn? When the dead back to life, Jesus would return. The light of Ali he would call for and yearn, and place it within their chests, because Ali's love revives the dead. Whose name did Moses call when splitting the Red Sea? Whose name did Maryam call by the date tree? Who did Muhammad yearn when alone he would be? Ali is courage, Ali is strength, and Ali is Muhammad's greatest friend. So call Ali when this world stands up against you. Call Ali when this world stands up against you. He shows us the righteous prevail, even when few. With Ali by your side, you will make it through. Like Muhammad, call Ali, and his hand to you he'll lend. Because Ali's love is the soul of our religion. For know that there would be no Islam without him. His name is called by the angels, by the men, and by the jinn. A secret deep in the heart, an ocean that few comprehend. Ali is the light of Allah and his prophets. Ali is the secret that Allah himself perfects. Whatever praises Allah, Ali protects. Ali is succession's dream. Everything he'd succeed, he'd defend. So recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Give me a second louder salawat, please. And a third with the loudest of your voices. I'd like to thank SABA for allowing me the opportunity to serve you and recite some small verses in honor of Ali alayhi salam. Inshallah, I'll end with just a very short poem, again about the fada'il of Ali. And they asked me, I'm sure they've asked you, they asked me about the one who was born in the Kaaba, the one who was named Haydar, the first man to believe in Rasulullah, who slept in the bed of the messenger, the Harun to Ahmed's Musa, the wielder of Dhul Fiqar, the mountain of Uhud, and the conqueror of Badr, the conqueror of Khaybar, who made Fatima's heart flutter, who stood on Ahmed's shoulders to break the idols of idolaters, the Mawla after the Mawla, the one struck in his prayer, who'd offer his killer water, who declared he was successful and splits heaven and hellfire. I replied, is there anything left to ask? I replied, is there anything left to ask? Is there anything left to ask about the one who with just one hand, and not even with his tongue, changed the very orbit of our ancient sun, as if he could have destroyed it by covering it with his thumb? The one who offered his life in the Prophet's stead, and did so by laying in Revelation's bed. The bronze skin of his throat, it yearned to turn blood red, to sacrifice all that was Ali for the sake of Ahmed, the only one in history who, deep within his prayer, heard both Allah's words and the voice of the beggar in despair. His finger, in its own consciousness, extends and says, here, the zakat was the ring, but the wealth was the gaze of Ahmed's heir. The one who would sleep restless when he led a whole kingdom, saying, how can I sleep comfortably when my lands have poor within them, whose heart that was a firm mountain melted for the orphan, whose five senses belong to the oppressed, be it now or be it then. The one who with one hand held the battlefield of Badr against the thousands of Hunain, his skin would not dare shudder, because there are thousands of warriors, but only one Haydar. And if you doubt this, ask the stories told to Marhab by his mother. If you doubt this, ask the broken gate that once belonged to Khaybar. Ask the mystics, ask the beggars, ask his cradle that was the Kaaba. Ask the Sufis, ask the Sunnis, ask the Shia who clung to his Khalifa. Ask the walking sense of heaven. Ask Fatima to Zahra. Ask the ones who call him one. Ask the ones who call him four. Ask the souls that are long gone who'd recite Dum Dum Ali Ali Kur. Ask the saints who were humbled at the foot of Ali's door. Ask the split of heaven and hell. Ask Adam what was before. Ask the millions that yearn his dome of the secret of this warrior. Ask the battle within his heart, the nefs that was never superior. Ask the two prongs of Dhul Fiqar, of the oneness of its master. Ask his lover of heaven, because they know the sweetness of the hereafter. Ask with an open heart, and let your heart be filled with him. Then you may ask your heart of this wealth of love deep within. Ask Ali of Ali, because Ali is still living. Ask Ali of Ali, because Ali is still living. Ask Muhammad of Ali, and he'll tell you everything. Ask Muhammad of Ali, and he'll tell you everything. Thank you so much for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ahsantum, Jazakumullah khair, Brother Nuri Sardar. Please recite another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The best gift we can offer him for this beautiful recitation is dua for his success, inshaAllah. May Imam Ali and our mother Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra bless him more to give us more beautiful poetry, inshaAllah. Inshallah, we'd like to stand up and rise towards the Qibla. We'll do ziyarah of Amin Allah, and inshaAllah, we will enjoy dinner. Jazakumullah khair. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجائي في آخرتي ودنياي الإمام وأمير المؤمنين عليه السلام، أصالة عن نفسي ونيابة عن سيدي ومولاي صاحب العصر والزمان، ونيابة عن والدي وعن والد والدي وعن إخواني وأخواتي وأصدقائي وكل من قلدنا الدعاء والزيارة. أسأل الله القبول إن شاء الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أمين الله في أرضه وحجته على عباده. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. أشهد أنك جاهدت في الله حق جهاده وعملت بكتابه واتبعت سنن نبيه حتى دعاك الله إلى جواره فقبضك إليه باختياره وألزم أعداءك الحجة مع ما لك من الحجج البالغة على جميع خلقه. اللهم اجعل نفسي مطمئنة بقدرك راضية بقضائك مولعة بذكرك ودعائك محبة لصفوة أوليائك محبوبة في أرضك وسمائك صابرة على نزول بلائك شاكرة لفواضل نعمائك ذاكرة لسوابغ آلائك مشتاقة إلى فرحة لقائك متزودة التقوى ليوم جزائك مستنة بسنن أوليائك مفارقة لأخلاق أعدائك مشغولة عن الدنيا بحمدك وثنائك. اللهم إن قلوب المخبتين إليك وآلها وسبل الراغبين إليك شارعها وأعلام القاصدين إليك واضحا وأفئدة العارفين منك فازعا وأصوات الداعين إليك صاعدا وأبواب الإجابة لهم مفتحا ودعوة من ناجاك مستجابا وتوبة من أناب إليك مقبولا وعبرة من بكى من خوفك مرحوما والإغاثة لمن استغاث بك موجودا والإعانة لمن استعان بك مبذولا وعداتك لعبادك منجزا وزلل من استقالك مقالا وأعمال العاملين لديك محفوظا وأرزاقك إلى الخلائق من لدنك نازلا وعوائد المزيد إليهم واصلا وذنوب المستغفرين مغفورا وحوائج خلقك عندك مقضية وجوائز السائلين عندك موفورا وعوائد المزيد متواترة وموائد المستطعمين معدة ومناهل الظماء مترعايا إليهم فاستجب دعائي واقبل ثنائي واجمع بيني وبين أوليائي بحق محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين إنك ولي نعماي ومنتهى مناي وغاية رجاي في منقلبي ومثواي. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا علي بن أبي طالب ولي الله، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام على الحسن المجتبى، السلام على الحسين الشهيد المظلوم بكربلاء. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى جدك وأبيك وعلى أمك وأخيك وعلى التسعة المعصومين من بنيك، لا سيما صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا أمام الإنس والجهان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك، وجعل الله من أعوانك وأنصارك ومن المستشهدين بين يديك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل.